Hey y'all,
Hey,
come on in.
you know what time it is.
Happy Sunday, or Monday, or Tuesday, whenever you're watching.
Could be any day of the week, cause
The video gonna be here.
right,
So come on in, share this video, tag somebody, all that good stuff.
tell a friend to tell a friend.
Cause we here,
We here, you're here,
and life is good.
right?
Okay, Jamal, I think that's good.
All right.
You know, I think people know we're here. I think they know that we gonna be here because we here every single week because we're live. Hey, we're live. Hey, we're live. Hey, we're live. Tag somebody and press the share. Hey, we live. Tag somebody and press the share. Hey, we live. Tag somebody and press the share. Hey, we live. Tag somebody and press the share. Hey, we live. We live. Hey, we live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of God's Got Jokes TV. I'm Portia.
And I'm Jamal.
And we're so glad that you're here joining with us here yet another Sunday. And so, as always, tag somebody and press the share. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you. However you're watching, we're just so glad that you're here. And you can follow us, as always, at God's Got Jokes TV over on Instagram. Or you can follow us individually. I am at Portionality.
And I'm at Jamal Rich Comedy.
Yeah, so we've got a great show lined up for y'all today. We got a little bit of in the headlines. We've got a little bit of what we're watching. We're going to do some updates on Insecure since we haven't talked about it in a little bit. And yeah, we're going to just talk, about where we're at, because y'all know we're getting married and all that good stuff. And so one of the shows that we watched was Married at First Sight. So we're going to get into that and kind of meld that in with our premarital counseling work.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that today. So hopefully y'all enjoy our show. So that's the lineup for today. Yeah. So Jamal.
Portia.
Let's just start it off with in the headlines.
In the
headlines. And so, as y'all know, as many should know, if you don't know, you're about to know.
You
about to know.
Tell them, baby.
Yeah, I'm a preacher.
Right.
Right. Hence, God's got jokes.
Yep.
So I'm a preacher, and I didn't address this, when it happened immediately because I was in my feelings, right? I had to really process what happened.
Right.
And so, President number 45.
45.
Who shall remain lameless because, lameless,
Lame.
lame
He's
fool.
Lame.
He decided that he was going to pose and stand in front of a church what looked like he was holding a Bible, looked like it was a symbolic black book to represent like the Bible. I'm not actually sure if it was the Bible, but the point is, nonetheless, you're standing in front of the church with a book. And so it communicated to us that he's trying to say that he has some type of God-given authority, okay, to speak and to declare war on the people, because that's exactly what he did, right? He declared war on the people. And it was kind of like it was his response to all of what is happening in our country. As people should know, we are rising, right? This is a time, Black people, we are rising. Okay, you better call somebody, ask somebody, because if you didn't know, now you know. We are rising in a way that we never have before. You have an entirely new generation of young people who are showing up and showing out, who are coming to the protests, who are showing up to the rallies, who are showing up to the marches. They are out here, okay? They are out here. We are out here. We are all coming to the table. And so, quite naturally, all of that has upset and ruffled the feathers of the president, and good, right? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Ruffle his feathers, right? You can tell your president, catch me outside. How about that?
Right. Russell those three hair whiskers he's got on the top of his head.
Not three hair whiskers.
Yeah. He got the Homer Simpson.
He got a whole little onion loaf.
Right.
It's just like, a comb over.
Keep combing something that's not there. if he holding that Bible, he need to pray for deliverance for his hair.
You know, we got to pray for something.
Right.
Because, Lord, sweet Black Jesus.
Right.
Lord, sweet Black Jesus, we need to be praying for something. Because right now, the image that is being communicated, right now, people have to take a stand. You got to choose what side you're going to be on. Either you for us or you're against us. And right now, 45 has chosen a side. We are choosing a side. And we, people who believe in God, who cannot rest until it's done. I mean, well, we can rest. Hello, rest is essential. Rest is actually a form of resistance, okay? I'm just saying.
Listen to him.
You better rest when you can.
Rest.
Because there's work to do in the land. Oh! You better rest when you can. Hey. There's work in the land. Hey, you better rest when you can. Because there's work in the land.
Go and tell them that.
Rest when you can. What?
Rest when you can, because there's work in the land.
Sure. Okay. So rest when you can, because there's work in the land. So, you know, that's actually the lectionary text this week. You know, the harvest is plenty and the workers are few. But there's so much out there. This is fertile ground. If you're an artist, this is a really, really, really great time as an artist to be creating.
Right.
You know, creating. This is such a great time to be creating. So that's all I got to give to that. You know, that's enough energy toward that.
Yeah, we only got to be giving that too much energy.
No more energy.
It's happening, so you got to acknowledge it, but we ain't got to stay on it and give it any more power.
Don't give 45 your energy.
Right.
And if you have an election coming up this week, make sure you get out and vote. Vote. Wear your mask.
If you was out protesting, you need to be voting.
Well,
that's where the power is.
Ooh, can't talk about it. Got to be about it. Well.
Anyway, yeah, so, you know, moving on, since we're not giving that any more energy and we just want to talk about things that matter to us. So, you know, we're going to go on to a segment we like, and it's called
What We're Watching.
I love doing that.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's always so much fun, right?
It's so much fun.
Because we're always watching something. Like, y'all are watching us.
I hope y'all do it with us every single week when we do it. Let's do it one more time.
Okay.
We're watching...
What we're watching.
It's so much fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, but this week, you know, as always, we always watch Insecure.
Yep.
And a lot has been happening. We haven't talked about it in a few weeks on the show. And oh my God. Spoiler alert. So if you haven't watched the season, this is the time to press pause and then come back tomorrow after you've been watched the entire season. Okay? So we'll give you like 2 seconds to pause, okay? Okay, so, all right, so if you've been watching, you know that Issa and Molly, they're not talking right now. So then they did an episode where Molly was doing her thing, then the follow-up episode where Issa was doing her thing.
Not other way around, but yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then, well, they were episodes. And this past week was when Issa and Molly finally collided and they crossed paths again. And it was interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting. So in the Issa episode, Issa was just trying to be a good citizen out here in these streets. She was giving out free Lyft rides and, you know, she was out here giving out, you know, instructions and giving pro tips on LA culture. And she met a group of people that ultimately ended up taking advantage of her. Whack. But, you know, Issa was out here just trying to figure out life post Molly. And then you see the episode with Molly and Andrew where Molly's trying to figure out life post Issa with Andrew, and now she's out. They were like in Mexico or something, and they were just like having like a tropical time of their lives. I mean, it was just grand, darling. It was grand. I actually bought this when I went to Aruba.
Oh, humble brag.
Yes, I got this one. Well, I didn't buy it in Aruba. I bought it for Aruba. So I just wanted to be on the island. I just wanted to be like, yes. Just wanted to be, yes. You know, it was my first island. I wanted to be like, yes. So, yeah, so it was great. Well, actually, Manhattan Island was my first island, but, you know, that's a whole other story. I can't be like, yes, in Manhattan. I was like, well, if we're technical here, if we're technical, Manhattan Island, Long Island, Staten Island. I mean, you know, I've been in the islands.
I mean, I've been to all of them too.
And, you know, I've been to those islands. But Molly and Andrew were in the islands, and we actually saw Molly really dealing with some of these emotions and seeing some of the things that she really needs to work through. So I always really appreciate Insecure's ability to deal with topics like mental health, because Molly ends up calling her therapist. And so in the latest episode, Molly actually is on the couch with her therapist. And so
Which, by the way, Portia has been telling Molly to get back on the couch the entire season. I'm just so happy that Molly finally listened to my fiance, because I think everybody needs to listen to her. I listen to her. So just...
Thank you, sweetheart.
No problem.
Yay. So yeah, Molly's finally back on the couch, y'all. And so I was so glad she read her, you know, and was just like, listen, do you want to be right, or do you want to be in a relationship? Or do you want to be in a relationship, or do you want to be right? That was the quote. And you know what? Sometimes we got to figure out what's the best thing for the relationship and not always be trying to be correct all the time. And so that's something that we're learning even like in premarital counseling, right?
Yes.
That's something that we are learning, especially when it comes to like in-laws, especially when it comes to things like listening to each other. Do we want to be right and defend our side all the time? Or do we want to be in community and relationship with people? Because Molly has definitely bulldozed in the relationships with her dad. She bulldozed the relationship with Issa. She kind of jacked up a little bit with Andrew, because now she's beefing with Andrew's brother, Victor.
Yeah, very cutthroat, very abrasive.
Yeah, and all of that, you know, is really like not the vibe for Molly right now.
No.
And so we see that Molly and Issa, well, before we get there, I do want to mention that Issa is actively repairing relationships, right? We see Issa talking to Nathan.
Yeah.
We see Issa talking to Lawrence.
Lawrence.
There's been a whole episode on Issa and
people.
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
A whole
that
episode.
Lawrence. Go back and watch it.
Yes. A whole. Did you want to bring that up? Did you want to mention that episode?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, Issa...
Before I get to the other part, go ahead.
So, Issa and Lawrence, how did they reconnect? Lawrence hit up Issa first, right? Yeah, Issa's not seeing anybody. So she was like, okay, let's just... I guess they said they exchanged text messages. They've been talking back and forth, and then they eventually meet up. And, you know, they both realized that how much growth, you know, they both had in their time apart. You know, Issa's paying for, you know, her business has progressed, so she has the money to pay for things, and she's not waiting on Lawrence to pay for stuff. Lawrence was unemployed last time they were together, so Lawrence is also like ordering Uber, but like Uber Black, not the basic Uber, but Uber Black. And they both kind of like flexing their new lives, little by little, humble brags here and there. And they're both kind of like impressed with each other, and they're kind of like re-sparking the flame little by little, I would say. But the thing is, they both have people who they've been messing with in their time apart, who are still in their lives. Like Lawrence was still, at the time, he didn't really end things completely with Condola. And Issa is still very much talking to Nathan. So that's kind of like the juxtaposition of their two relationships. And, you know, they ended up with Issa going back to see Lawrence's apartment just so she wanted to see if it was trash or not. And she ended up staying. So there's that.
And there's that. And so in the latest episode, Issa and Lawrence, you know, are still kicking it. And, you know, they have a long 5-year history. We see that Molly and Issa, they meet up and they do not address the situation at their little brunch talk. But what we do see happen is Molly accidentally sends a text message to Issa in the middle of like a game night, well, an impromptu game night, because it wasn't really intended to happen. And she texts and says, see, look, I'm trying with her. And Issa's like, ooh, she sees the text and like, I don't think that was meant for me. And so the point is, at the end of this episode, we see two friends who have been friends for years, who are friends based on history. And now we're seeing them at a crossroads for them to make a decision. Is the relationship worth holding on to? Has there been too much damage done? Is it worth salvaging? And sometimes we've got to make that call. That's a very difficult call to make in our friendships.
Sure is.
Is it time to let it go? Or is it time to, you know, figure out how we can move forward? And sometimes certain relationships aren't worth holding on to. And it's not to say that, there's no love. It's just to say, I can love you from a distance. You're here and I'm here. We can love each other from a distance.
Yeah, sometimes as we grow as individuals, it's okay to grow apart from our friends. You know what I mean? It's like, they've grown in their own little sections, but Issa doesn't necessarily need Molly anymore, and Molly doesn't necessarily need Issa.
Yeah, and I wonder how they became friends in the first place. Like, I wonder, how did they get here? Because
their whole relationship for the longest has been, like you said, based on history alone. So it's kind of like, if your relationship is based on history, how long can it sustain itself?
Right. How long can it sustain itself? And so these two women have been friends for a long time. But just like we don't really know the entire backstory with Issa and Lawrence, we don't know the entire backstory of Molly and Issa. Like, how did all these people get here? We entered into their stories at a very specific point when things were just kind of falling apart for all of them. And so I want to know, when was it up? When were these relationships up? We've encountered these relationships kind of on the downfall. And so, yeah, that's where Insecure is. I'm looking forward to seeing this next episode. I think it's the last episode. I think it's the season finale.
Oh, already?
Already. There's only 10 episodes.
That was quick.
Yeah, and before it was 8 episodes. And so we got 2 bonus, and that was the Molly episode and the Issa episode.
Oh, man.
That was our 2 bonus episodes in the story.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but you know what? That's where we are.
Yeah.
But what else have we been watching, Jamal?
Oh, well,
go ahead and tell the people.
Yeah, spinning off from our whole Insecure vibe, the actress who plays Molly, her name is Yvonne Orji. She's a stand-up comedian. And her comedy special debuted this week. And it was really good. Really very, very, very funny. And me personally, I love the way that she infused her jokes with footage from her native town, country of Nigeria. And because we hear a lot of people talk about Nigeria, but not a lot of people get to experience the culture on film. So seeing her talk about it in her stand-up comedy and seeing her actually utilize some footage from the actual country and her experiencing and interacting with the people and her family, it was really cool. Very well executed. Jokes are on point. Very, very funny. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. You're a comedian expert, so I think, you know way more than I do about stand-up. But I, as just a regular, everyday, regular, schmegular person, I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. And so, yeah, I thought it was good. I'm going to always support Black women doing, stand-up at Howard University. I was really excited that she chose Howard. And she explained that her mom was a nurse at Howard. I think it was at Howard Hospital, something like that.
Yeah, Howard Hospital, yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought it was really, really dope.
Yeah, it was really good. Check it out. I'm not going to say any of her jokes on our show because I don't know if there's a copyright on that stuff. But check it out. It's on HBO, HBO Go, HBO Max if you have any of those things, or a friend with any of those streaming services. Get their password. Check that out. It's really good. Yvonne Orji, Mama, I Made It.
Yeah, and so because you're an expert, Jamal, what other things can you say about it? Like, why else is it just good? Like, besides it just being good, like, what else can you say about it?
Oh, okay, so she really good story.
This is like your lane, so it's like
really good storytelling. Yeah, really good storytelling. Like, she tells jokes about like her childhood, growing up, and how her mom was, how Nigerians are very like. They like to haggle. She told a story about how like they like to haggle each other, and they really drag it out, like they're really dramatic. And she really painted the pictures, like me, the homie. Like I can't do it justice because I'm not her, but yes, it's very, very, very funny. Really good storytelling. Really good.
Why is that important? Why is storytelling important in comedy?
Oh, storytelling is important. It's important because it carries us along on this journey. It's not just one setup and one punchline. It's like a series of punchlines and events that paint this even bigger picture of an even bigger story. And it's just funny throughout. You know what I mean? It's just, it's like you, as a viewer, I don't know, you don't want to know if it's a setup and a punchline. You want to just enjoy the experience and enjoy all that is Yvonne Orji.
Awesome.
So check it out. It's really good. Other than that, we've been watching Married at First Sight.
Yeah, we finished it.
We did finish
Yeah, we watched that whole thing. At first, we were just going to, fast forward through, all the Black people on it. like, and just watch the black, couples. But that actually got really good, and we started watching the whole thing. So talk about it, Jamal.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Married at First Sight is a show about where the whole premise is. So you have these matchmakers. They field everybody. They go through, interview them. They get a feel of their personality and what they do for a living and all that important stuff that's supposed to go into a relationship that you would normally go on a date to find out. And what they do is they matchmake. They put people together, and the experiment is pretty much to see who's going to last. And these people meet for the first time at their wedding.
Literally at the altar.
Literally at their wedding, getting legally married, and there's no escape. You meet this person, you don't know what they look like, what they do, how they're gonna act, and you stand at the altar and you say, I do, and you get married, and that's it. And, and you have, how much time do they have? They have 8 weeks staying together, and then at the end of the 8 weeks, they decide if they want to stay married or if they want to get a divorce, like a legal divorce.
Yeah, so this show, it's on Netflix, but it actually also comes on Lifetime as well. And so there are 3 people who like counsel these couples throughout. And so you have Dr. Pepper, Pastor Calvin, but I call him Pastor Cal. And then there's Dr. Viviana, and they are some powerhouse people. They will tell it to you straight.
Take no nonsense.
They take no nonsense. And they will get these couples together. So like, for instance, there was one couple, one of the spouses was staying out all night and wasn't coming home.
Didn't tell his wife nothing.
Didn't tell his spouse a thing. And so the pastor, he came in and was just like, yo, what's the deal? You gotta go home. You're not a single person anymore. You have to adjust to this married life. There is a set of expectations. And so what we come to realize is that some of these people on this show, some of them were coming into this for all the right reasons, right? Some of them stayed together in the end. Some of them decided they wanted to get a divorce. But the point is, when you come into this process, this social experiment that they're doing, you've got to enter it in with a sense of knowing what you want. And that's really how you have to enter any marriage, right? You've got to know what you want up front. And so that's like what we are learning, right? We are learning about what this commitment is going to look like. There are things that Jamal could do as a single man that he can no longer do as a spouse because it's not acceptable in a marriage, or vice versa. There are things that I really would do as a single person that is absolutely unacceptable in a marriage. Case in point. So I, have achieved a certain level of, comfort in life, for the most part, right? Went to school, got a job, yada, yada, yada. So I've been living on my own for, for a few years, and I've been making my own money, and I can spend it, how I want to spend. Now I'm not a, crazy spender at all. But I do like to, if there's something I want to enjoy, I don't like to deny myself that joy. And that's also to say, if I feel like saving and not spending on something, I'm going to choose to save how I want to save. So when you enter into marriage, your finances are no longer just your finances, if that is the conversation you and your spouse are having. And so for me, I have to negotiate my finances now differently because I'm not just responsible for me, myself, and I'm also in partnership with you, with this fine human being here. And so it just looks different, like Jamal, in the clubs late at night,
comedy clubs,
in the club, in the comedy clubs late all kind of night. He, doing a midnight show is normal, for Jamal. But, now as a married person or almost a married person, right. It's not, to me, you can do your midnight shows, but there has to be some type of courtesy call, right? There's got to be some type of, hey, I got to check in. I'm at this location. I'll be here until this time. Hey, I'm on my way home, right? There's a checks and balances now. It's like, if you're going to be out late because this is your work, this is what you do, there's got to be some level of check-in and accountability because let's keep it real. Black lives don't matter to some folk. And as a Black woman who loves a Black man, I need to know where, you know, your whereabouts are just for safety. It has nothing to do with like, ooh, is he cheating? Is he creeping? Like, it ain't got nothing to do with that, right? This ain't nothing to do with that. This ain't, is he cheating? Is he creeping? Is he cheating? Is he creeping? No, this is about accountability and about making sure he's safe and making sure each other are safe. And so, yeah, it's just, things are changed and things are different. And so everyone doesn't quite have that understanding when they're entering into marriage. And so the boundaries needed to be set with some of these couples that weren't quite set. But you know, it was okay. I love the show. I think the show was great.
It was really good.
They had a really cool honeymoon. They was honeymooning.
Hey,
Honeymooning. Yeah, so they were honeymooning. And the honeymoons were great. But when the honeymoon was over, honey.
Oh.
The honeymoon was over. Over. And reality came in like swift. It was really swift reality. So yeah, anything else you want to say about that, Jamal?
Yeah, it was reality swept in, like you said, and a lot of couples struggled. They realized not just communication, but like things like your family history plays a big factor. How you were raised affects how you interact with your spouse. And, you know, your mental health, how that plays a factor in how you and your spouse get together. And you know, communication is the foundation of it all, because you got to communicate all these things, and so that people understand, you know, why you are the way you are. But yeah, it's very eye-opening. And sometimes you watch these shows, and especially when you're going through premarital counseling and getting ready to get married yourself, you watch it sometimes and you're like, man, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
We got it. We doing better than we thought.
We are doing better than we thought. That's the truth. Listen, that's the God's honest truth. Because every day I be like, Lord, what am I getting myself into? But then I be watching these shows. I'm like, oh,
he ain't doing that.
I was like, oh,
at least he calls.
Oh, I was like, oh, makes you realize that some of the things that you can live with, it's like, actually, I can live with that.
Right.
You know, but there are the things that you can't live with. You got a voice, you got a name, and listen, all that. So Love at First Sight, not Love at First Sight, Married at First Sight. You know, check it out over at Netflix. And so, Jamal, I think that's our show.
Yeah, that is our show. And we want to thank you guys for tuning in. For our repeat tuners, is that the phrase? Tuners. For everybody who tunes in every week, we thank you. If it's your first time, we thank you. Keep telling a friend to tell a friend to tune in. And, you know, as always, follow us on YouTube at Guys Got Jokes TV, on Instagram at Guys Got Jokes TV. Follow us individually. I'm at Jamal Rich Comedy.
And I'm at Portionality.
And we will see you guys next week. Be safe.